to have a meeting point. They need to have a meeting point, because as we speak right now, the church is here and the teenagers are over there in the corner somewhere over there. There is no understanding point. There is no level of there is no point where bonaba tukamu ne bakkiriza. No, they have felt chovola abana abato abasinga abali mu masomero church bagigenda mu kusande. Church tebachagitwala nga kikulu. Church techayogera bintu bye bategeera. So the church needs to repackage. I feel like the church leaders need to repackage how they are delivering information to these young girls and boys. Webabanga honesty bagala tusa mulamu waka.
What's your take again on the role of parents? Are parents in a docile mode, in a relaxation mode? They've given up and they're like... So I think those are some of the question now. With teenage pregnancies, every time, sometimes there is also HIV. But now there is another story, Namale, concerning the rate at which HIV is also prevalent in teenagers. But again, after they were infected, again, they don't know how to take drugs. We don't know where they're stigmatized. I don't know.
I would love to understand if these girls are stigmatized, and because I don't want to actually believe they are stigmatized, but let's listen to someone else to have an opinion, and I will see if probably I am totally out of the question, because in my opinion, this is something else. I will not refer to it as stigmatization.
Wow. Yeah, I think we could take a break and come back with we can just straight. I think if it's ready, we have a guest who's joining us and want to look into the rate at which teenagers are failing to take their ARVs, especially those who are HIV positive. Remember, the rate at which the prevalence of HIV in teenagers is at, we're talking about age between 15 to 25, which is at 60% and above. So it is really worrying. But again, sir, good to have you on Health Morning, and we're discussing the rate at which teenagers are suffering from HIV is high, but what could be the reason why they are not taking their ARVs?
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mbale Derek. I work with the Uganda Network of Young People Living with HIV, and the communication and the PR. I'm so happy to be hosted this morning, and for that question, the rate of adolescent girls and boys being increasing on the uptake of not taking ARV is still a big challenge on our side. As a network, we are having a little bit of a whereby this girl, like the adolescent stage itself, it cannot themselves, like they do not have someone who can remind them on how they are taking their medication, and things of the stigma and discrimination within the community, then the stress and anxiety that they are going through on a daily basis. But you'll find yourself that that the communities where this kind of information is coming from is a bit tricky, whereby the whole community approach is not supporting the adolescents on how they can take the ARVs, and also the health experts are not doing their role on making sure that they understand the importance of how and why they're taking their medication. Yeah.
Yes?
He wouldn't hear me, but let me say that again. If you mentioned and said the health experts are not doing their job when it comes to helping these young girls and boys take their HIV drugs, so what should they do?
I think one of the best methods, because yesterday I saw something around adolescents not taking their medication. Then I went back on the Twitter and also other different platforms to air out on a few things that they can be put in place in making sure that our adolescents have and are suppressed to viral load. So the measures that we can put in place is one is if we can still have a comprehensive counseling on adherence, whereby these adolescent girls can really understand the importance of why they should take their medication. Things related to also that sensitizing the community on the stigma and the discrimination, because the stigma itself has to manifest itself from a person living with HIV or an adolescent living with HIV. But if we cannot empower that young person or an adolescent child out there to believe or to believe or to undertake that he's HIV positive, then what we are doing is like we are washing our clothing and putting them into the dust. So we are just like making a sound, drumming for a deaf person to dance. Then another intervention that we can do, we understand that we have the churches, we have the whole community. If the churches can now start reminding or have those sessions whereby they can sensitize or do a little bit of the awareness within the congregation, then also have those separate sessions with adolescents. I remember when I was still in church, when I was still very young, we used to have those days of the youth. If the days that the youth are still embraced up to now, we can also venture on how the churches can invite experts and talk about the different types of stigma and the importance of why these young adolescents need to take the ARVs. That will also work. Then also on the side of us, the CSOs, we need to strengthen up where we are seeing challenges, because now if you look at the statistics that are really shared that adolescent girls are not taking the ARVs, then at the end of the day, who is to blame and who is not to blame? So as a CSOs, we also need to move out to the communities or move out to the communities and still sensitize the community on how they can support their adolescents to come back to care.
Something else I would love to hear from you again. Let's talk about accessibility from your standpoint of view. How can you rate the accessibility of the HIV drugs to the teenagers particularly?
The accessibility, at the moment, I would say we have all the services at the health facilities, both government and private. But one biggest challenge is that if to rate it, I would say it is at 85%, because we cannot say 100 simply because we still have a bit of the challenges whereby we still have the drug stockouts and drug stockouts of ARVs, then drug stockouts of other services. Because if this young person comes at the facility, one thing they have come for their ARVs, but there are still other challenges like the sexual and productive health accessibility for them. Like you might find that there's a stock out of condoms, stock out of other family planning methods. But remember, this adolescent person is growing and is engaging into sex, is engaging into other different things. But if to rate, it is at 85, because we are not I cannot be sure that it is 100% simply because of the drug stock out. Then also, if you look at our health workers who are stealing drugs and so on and so on. Yeah.
My Ubi is that, do you think there could be another alternative apart from taking drugs? Because sometimes tablets are becoming a problem. They nag, you get tired, sometimes you forget. Could there be any other alternative as the ministry gearing up to help all these teenagers?
Another alternative.
Maybe like the injectable,
side,
something.
I would say there's no, okay, the alternatives that are different researchers have come up with is having an injectable drug. But currently it hasn't been rolled out in Uganda, but in some other parts of Africa it has been rolled out, like in South Africa they are doing it. But to my side, there is nothing like an alternative. The only thing is that taking that pill every single day. Because even if they roll out the injectable ARVs, we Africans, we are not good at keeping appointments. And remember, you're getting this injection for a month or for 2 months or for 3 months. But at the end of the day, we Africans, we cannot keep up with the appointment days. I'll just give you a very good example. To me, or any other young person living with HIV, it's very hard. They will have to call you to remind you about your appointment at the health facility where you're getting your refill. Then it will take like 3 days or 4 days to come and get the refill. But if just take an example whereby now we have the injectable, most people will take even months to come and get the injection. But if you look on the other side of other services like the family planning, where people are getting the injectable, it's called I don't remember the name, but the family planning method for injection, some of them will take like 3 days or 4 days after it has really come to the month of appointment to get another one. But to my side, I think there's nothing like an alternative. The only thing is the pills that we have. But let us just keep it let us have the hope, so that at least one day, or we can still have a pill that can be like a Panadol, small in size, or like a cetirizine, small in size, so that at least we can remove away the thing of the pill burden that we have within the community, whereby people are facing that the pills that they're taking, they're very big.
Girls, have they been sensitized enough on the repercussions of not taking their drugs?
I would say yes. As for us as an organization, we have done a lot of interventions around taking your ARVs, giving health workers different trainings on how they can work with adolescent girls and young boys in how they can sensitize these young people and how they can really embrace the positive living. From the projects I've worked on, as me personally, because we had a project in the East whereby HIV was high among young people. Basically, what we used to do was to have those interventions around the health facility. How can we strengthen the health structure whereby this young person can still come and get the medication without any disturbance, any stigma and discrimination. So for the government itself, it has done it through, and also the other agencies like the Uganda AIDS Commission, then NAFANO, which is the National Forum for People Living with HIV, they have done their role, but it is us, the adolescents, to do also the role of understanding why we need to take the medication, because at the end of the day, we still have a future ahead of us, and if we do not maintain taking the medication, then we are losing out on the future that we dream to have.
I've enjoyed listening to you, and I'm wondering, as we are sensitizing these young girls to keep on taking drugs, we also have noticed that the prevalence of HIV, especially among teenagers in the country, is actually going higher. Do you also, according to the research that you have done, do you have any methods or strategies that you've come up with to mitigate this?
Yeah, there are strategies that we are doing as an organization, and if you look at currently right now, we are having an intervention around schools to eliminate stigma and discrimination, and also to promote adherence among students within schools. So it's an intervention that is very new. I think in Uganda, whereby we are focusing on how schools can debate. Then in those debates, we are getting their views and how they can create an enabling environment in the school setting. But if you look at the past years, we have, as UNIPA, we have been conducting the Y Plus Beauty pageant, a pageant that is aimed at reducing stigma and discrimination, and also promote positive living among young people living with HIV. For the pageant itself, it has created an enabling environment for young people living with HIV, both in school and the community, and also at church. So we are looking at because the pageant itself started in 2014 with close to 10 contestants, but this number has been growing, and currently right now we have 1,195 young people who have contested so far. And if you look at also the other intervention that we are trying to do is the Y Plus Summit, whereby we bring different young people from different districts or cities to come together. Then you do the best. They learn from each other. Then try to lobby and also advocate for what's happening within their communities. So the reason why these interventions we did them is simply because we want to show the world or the people out there that living with HIV and adhering to your ARVs, you can still make it in life, whereby young people still themselves, they still have that fear.
I've noticed that you have done this for quite a while, and as Uganda as a country, we have been struggling with HIV and the fight against stigma, which I heard you talk about multiple occasions. And I want to understand, with this fight that we have been having on HIV around stigma, has the percentage of stigma that is pushed to the people that are struggling with HIV, have we achieved something, or are we still at grade zero?
If you look at the statistics currently, you'll find that the stigma within the community is still growing, because if the counseling is not comprehensive enough for this young person or an adolescent, you'll find that they're still high. But if you look at the percentage, I think we are not yet closely to that, what the Uganda AIDS Commission has put for us. But if you look at the statistics, because I cannot mention them simply because we are still under discussion with the Uganda AIDS Commission in making sure that we create those more interventions that can really reduce stigma. But if you come back to the other side of the disclosing part, you'll find that because if you do not disclose, then you find yourself that you're still having the stigma within yourself. So So if you look at the 85% of adolescent girls who are boys who are not disclosing, this survey was done back then in 2019 in areas of Busoga, whereby our adolescents are not disclosing, and the 75% who are married still haven't yet disclosed. So there's things related to you find that the disclosure itself is still a very big burden on our side, which is causing the stigma and discrimination, and also raising of the numbers around the GBV within the community where these young people are coming from. Then you also find that it is also still very hard for a worker or someone working in a company to disclose, simply because he's fearing the stigma that will be associated within the workplace. Then that also comes into with I think 75% of the workers are not disclosing simply because they have to be chased away from their workplaces. So it's still very hard. The numbers are still shooting high, but as different agencies that are within Uganda, we are working closely with them in making sure that we come up with a policy that can enable someone to disclose and live in an environment that is free from stigma and discrimination.
So the last statistics, the last time that I had, the Eastern region was one of the leading in prevalence of HIV/AIDS. But right now as we speak, according to a recent report that was published, it says Mbara district as a district in itself is having high surge in HIV, and after Mbara comes Fort Portal. Is this the same research that you have? Do you have this on your table? And if you do, what is mounting us to get to here?
So as you understand that there are so many projects come and go there, and because of recently we had projects in Barara, then Fort Portal, then in the Busoga region. So let me first share the one for Busoga. By the time we started working in Busoga region, that was 2020, we had stigma reducing, young people accessing medication, because we did a lot. The project helped us to reach out to different young people, have interventions around the health facility, same as Mbarara and Fort Portal. So for the recent survey that was shared in a newspaper, that was New Vision. I think that was New Vision, having that adolescent HIV is now increasing in adolescent girls and young women, plus men who are 40 years and above. These statistics themselves, they are alarming, and if you go through people who have been posting that screenshot of the newspaper, you find very, very, very funny comments, and also people coming up with their very, very funny ideas. But if you look at because someone shared that now who is to blame on this side? All of us, we need to blame ourselves because we are not doing what is supposed to be done. The different measures that are put in place in terms of how we can protect ourselves from not getting HIV, then we are not putting them in place, and also we are not sensitizing the people within the communities are not taking the responsibility of reminding the adolescent girls that are having HIV, that you can do this and this and this and this in making sure that you cannot infect your partner. But if you look at the interventions that can be done, it's just through sensitization. However much sensitization is just not only enough. We need to go back to the drawing board and withdraw strategies that can really lead into reducing the HIV rates that are alarming to the country. fine, we have done a lot as a country, but still there's gaps that we need to fill in and make sure that at least the community is free from HIV and free from infections that are becoming a problem to us.
Derek, do you believe that come 2030, the campaign Kicking AIDS Out of Uganda by that year would come to fruition?
Because 2030, if you look at now how the years are flying, or how the years, because it looks a bit tricky on how things are becoming too weird on our side. To me, I think to an extent, yes, it will be a yes, but to another extent, I would say we still need to work on a few things that are supposed to be put in place, just like making sure that accessibility of ARVs are put in place. Then sensitization within the community is also at 100% sure that people are getting information. However much the behavior change within the community itself, it takes time. So what we need to do is, I believe we shall reach there, but not very sure, because the road is still having so many potholes.
I like that you said it's tricky at first, and then you say, but we can get there, but you're not sure. But let's agree with the fact that we are not sure if this is the trend that we're moving. You talked about stigma. As I wind this down, you talked about stigma and the fact that it's still much existing in society. And I'm looking at the recent report that was released in accordance to mental health affection of schools in particular. And the highest was depression and anxiety that were leading the cause of mental health in schools. So now I'm imagining stigma, then comes depression, then comes anxiety. What is the way forward?
I think the way forward is if the school can have someone dedicated to having these young people taken through and examining their stress and anxiety. Because I remember when I was still in school, we used to have a full-time counselor who would have sessions with us every evening, but this thing doesn't work anymore. You find that hiring a counselor right now to be a full-time person at the school is still very expensive, because this person will need salary at the end of the day. But if you can still have someone at school who is part-time and is a counselor, yes, that can work. Then also the schools need to do more of the having sessions, or having on their timetable fixing some of the awareness campaigns, like calling in other CS also take on the session. I remember when I was still in England, I used to do a campaign called Kona Mungato SRHR, and this campaign was much more into counseling, life skills, then bringing in some inspirational speakers to talk about something related to stigma and discrimination around HIV, then bringing someone who does career guidance. These are the things now that school need to put in place, so that they can still allow most of the sessions to be run. Because fine, we have the academic, but you cannot have academic when you're having stress and depression. Automatically you won't perform well in school. But if the school can designate these days for us to come in and have this session, that will be very better for us to have a community whereby, or to have that child go through education without even know any single stress or depression. And also we asked maybe the Ministry of Education to have to sensitize the teachers, to have workshops for the teachers, whereby the teachers can really understand the stigma and also how does stress and depression manifest, things like that, so that at least they can, if they are doing their teaching, they can notice someone who is stressed and someone who is not stressed and someone who is going through depression, because you might find that depression and stress is not coming from the schools; it might be coming from the home setting. So we need to really work closely together so that at least we can make sure that things change within the communities where these children are coming from.
Eric, do you think creative arts and media have done enough, or what do you think you would want them to play in the role of helping these teenagers?
The media has created much of the sensitization, and I would like to thank different media people who have done a lot in sensitizing the community, and at least with it. Because I'm not a TV person, but sometimes when I sit on TV, I'll start with an advert that runs around either stigma or something related to sexual and reproductive health. But where we need to put our strength right now is making the sensitization and making sure that the media itself understand how to report, which kind of language they can use to make sure that they do not discriminate these young people living with HIV or adolescents. So the media has done a lot, but it's high time again now we look for different interventions that can really make sure that at least different media platforms can come into supporting the organization that are doing awareness around HIV and accessibility of other sexual and reproductive health services and information.
How about creative arts, like singers, drama actors, those people? Have they done enough, or something that still needs to be done?
Yeah, because if you look at the singers, I remember there's a project one of our sister organization was doing, that was Inoka team, which is led by Richard Hand Uganda. It's done within different parts of Uganda, and they invite different artists to perform, and also make sure that the young people can listen. Because I might be a young person, but I believe if Alien Skin speaks about HIV, I'll take it. If Palazzo speaks about HIV, I'll take it and say, yes, Palazzo said this and this and this. But remember, these things involving an artist into a project, it costs a lot of money, and going to a studio and putting out making sure that the information is packaged, it has a package that this young person can listen. It takes a lot of time. So to me, I would believe, okay, they have done their part, but it's high time that they still do something that it is not costly or doing something that is for volunteers, so that at least people can get the information. Because at the end of the day, most people need this information. Because I remember there's a project I was working on. It was a personal project whereby I was working with a few Busoga artists to do music that sensitizes the community, and it worked out very well for us, and good enough that the kingdom of Busoga embraced it. And by that time, I remember the chief who passed away, I think 2 years ago, was in support of it, and he would tell me, Derek, you're doing an amazing work in sensitizing and using the musicians to sensitize the community. But with the musicians of Kampala, the artists, they will ask for money on that, so that you can really get involved. They can really get involved, but still they've done their part in making sure that they have sensitized the community. And I thank Joanita Kawaja, who is a singer for Afrigo band, who keeps on telling me, Derek, you need to get back on track and come and sing for Afrigo. And but nevertheless, the musicians have done their part.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Derek. We appreciate your time, and this was quite an informative information that you have given us out. And we appreciate the good work that you're doing for the young people out there that are living with HIV to learn and understand the importance and relevancy of them sticking to their medication, as well as staying and refraining away from sexual behaviors that will lead them into attaining HIV/AIDS. But we appreciate your time. That is Mr. Derek, the PRO for Uganda Network for Young People Living with HIV, speaking to us, and he gave us a moment of his time to understand why young people have failed to take HIV or are failing to take their drugs, to be clear. And I'm sure you have learned a bit about
Yeah, quite.
And I think I have summed it up to, it's a number of factors that are leading us to having these young girls and boys fail to take the drugs, like accessibility, like stigma, and so many other things that need to be done. Sensitization and availability, actually even some healthcare centers failing to be having these drugs that these young girls and boys need. So it's a variety of things that are causing us to have young girls and boys failing to take their drugs.
It is indeed a cocktail of a lot of stuff, but what I still need to call upon creative arts, musicians, drama actors. He's mentioned something that when one of these youngsters, maybe they speak out. If today I had maybe Pastor Brand Lubega, if I had Levikson, if I had Kobe Bly going to the schools and they speak about this, if I had MC Cards, if I had, I mean, all those guys speak about this, it will really have a great impact. So creative arts, please, let's jump on the chariot and create more sensitization. It needs money. We need government to gear up and engage the creative arts, because most of the creative arts are young people, so they can speak volumes. Chintumutesa Silasin is my name. Until tomorrow at the same time, same place. Yes.
And I'm Genesis Hanamali. See you again tomorrow.